CJ Flyer back with another YouTube video. Naji Marshall had a career-high 26 points last night as the Mavs get the upset on the road without Luka Doncic against none other than the Denver Nuggets, with Jokic finally making his return after being out for the past few games. I believe he had a child. That's the reason why. Shout out to him. But anyways, great win by the Dallas Mavericks. All the rest of the players on the team stepped up while Luka was out, with the exception, I guess, of Klay Thompson. He had a not so great game, but that's okay. Everyone else stepped up, played great. Huge effort on defense, huge effort on the boards, fighting against Jokic. And I gotta say, I was getting a little bit nervous at the start of the second half, because even though they were up 20, I could tell they were getting a little bit lackadaisical, and the Nuggets were starting to come out aggressive, and I got a little bit nervous, but the Mavs managed to hang on and get the victory. So shout out to Naji Marshall. I did not realize that he was anywhere close to getting a career high in points. I kind of just assumed that he had scored 30 at some point, especially being on a team like the New Orleans Pelicans. Probably plenty of opportunities to score a lot of points when you got guys like Zion Williamson, Brandon Ingram out with injuries. But it was his career high in points, 11 of 15 from the field, 3 of 4 from 3, which is huge for him so far this season because he's been a little bit rough so far. Last year, averaged above the league average with 38.7% from 3. This year, it has definitely been rough. It's been a lot of games like these where he's like 0 of 2 from 3, missing corner threes, missing threes from the wing. So it's good to finally see him having a really good game scoring-wise. Again, you did have that 19-point game at Utah, but, Mavs lose. So good to see him with the great contribution as well as getting the win. So I'm hopeful for more things to come as far as Naji Marshall and his performance with scoring, with facilitating. He is a great playmaker when he needs to be, but he doesn't need to be a great playmaker a lot on these teams or on this team when you got Luka and Kyrie handling the ball a lot. His role is not usually to facilitate all the time. So it's great to see little flashes of that, and hopefully more to come. And as Luka learns to play off ball more once he's back from injury, perhaps we're going to see more flashes of that from Naji Marshall. Now, looking at the rest of the team, if we go up to the box score here and take a look, like I said, Klay Thompson, not a good game, 0 of 8 from the field, 0 of 4 from 3, and he had some good looks too. That's just, unfortunately, Klay starting the season hasn't been the best. He's had some good games, but I guess historically he hasn't always started the regular season out that great either, so I'm not too worried at the moment. Still better than not having Klay Thompson. Let's say, what's the alternative? It's having Tim Hardaway Jr. So I'm good there. PJ Washington had a great game as well. 22 points, 13 rebounds, and 3 steals. He's always a menace on defense, and he's a huge contributor on the team in that regard. Derek Lively, 4 of 4 from the field. Daniel Gafford, 5 of 7 from the field. There was, 7 Mavs players in double-digit scoring, including Naji Marshall's 26 and PJ's 22. Kyrie with 19. Overall, very optimistic outlook here with the Mavs. Obviously, we look at the standings now. They're still, not in the top half of the West yet, but they're getting there. They are tied for 7th, so I guess technically they're in the top half. They're struggling a little bit. And I'm kind of surprised they won last night's game with Jokic coming back. So it was nice to see that the team is actually able to play very well without the best player, that being Luka Doncic. Because as we all know, in the past couple years, and back during the 2021-2022 Western Conference Finals run, when Luka wasn't on the floor, most times the team looked very dysfunctional. Now, of course, Jalen Brunson looked great in that round 1 and has looked great since then. Of course, no longer on the Mavs. But for the most part, that Mavs team did not look very good without Luka on the floor. So it's nice to see that the team can actually play without him for a change. Not that they don't need him, but just that they're able to kind of hold their own while he's recovering from his injuries. And I say injuries because even though, the report is he's out with the wrist injury, let's be honest, his knees are not in the best shape. We've all seen it so far to start the season. So I'm hoping that as he recovers from the wrist injury, it allows him to also have some recovery with the knees as well. He's just completely beat up at this point. So hoping for better things to come. Now, last night was also an NBA Cup game. And while the Mavs do not have the potential to win their group at this point, there is a wild card slot for either conference. So them losing to the Warriors a week and a half ago lost them that spot as the Warriors are undefeated. And even if they lose their fourth and final NBA Cup group play game and the Mavs win theirs, with them being tied at 3 wins and 1 losses, the Warriors win the tiebreaker because the Warriors beat the Mavs. However, if we look at the wild card standings right now, and I'll need to double check the rules to make sure I understand it correctly, but right now the Mavs are at the top of the wild card hunt. Of course, some of these teams haven't played their third wild card game yet, so that very well may change here at a moment's notice. I believe the tiebreaker is point differential. I'll need to double check, but right now they're sitting pretty at plus 41 point differential. So I'm feeling like there is, oh yeah, there we go. Tiebreaker rules, head-to-head record in group stage, point differential in group stage. So there you go. Point differential. So like I said, looking pretty solid at plus 41. They still got one more game. If they can win that and add to that point differential, that would be huge. But as it stands right now, the Thunder would have to win both of their next 2 group play games by a combined total of 31 points or more. And if we look at the Thunder, who have they played? I actually don't know who they played in the NBA Cup yet, but they're in a tough group outside of the Jazz. Even with the Suns having no Kevin Durant, even with I guess I should say, I guess the Spurs are easier now without Wemby, but it's still some competition here. So, and with the Thunder having their injuries as well, the Mavs have a pretty good shot at getting that wild card spot in the NBA Cup. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But like I said, they don't have a chance to win the Cup anymore because of the fact that they lose the head-to-head tiebreaker with the Warriors if they both finish 3-1. So that doesn't matter at this point. The Warriors have clinched the seed for winning the group. So that being said, let me know what you think in the comments down below. I'm pretty excited about the Mavs and their potential to keep winning some games and move up the standings. Because we saw the Suns in the top 3. Durant got injured. Now they're starting to slip a bit. I'm really surprised in the Clippers. Really surprised how well they're doing to start the season. Rockets as well. They're sneaky good right now. It's not as sneaky anymore. They're towards the top. Warriors, D'Anthony Melton out for the season. That doesn't ruin their chances of being a top team in the West, but definitely hurts them a little bit. Thunder got their injuries, so I don't know. I think there's room for the Mavs to work their way up, and I'm pretty excited. And we also talked about how the disparities between the East and the West, how if we removed conferences from the equation, the Spurs would be like the 16th seed in the West. So, or 16th seed in the playoffs if you just combine conferences without conference seeding and just had the top 16 teams in the NBA by record. So, Mavs are not doing that bad. If you threw the Mavs in the East right now, they'd be at, third or fourth? So, yeah, not too worried. Not too worried about the Mavs. As far as the upcoming games for the Mavericks, let's go ahead and take a look at that real quick here. Let me see if I can pull up the schedule momentarily. Okay, so they just beat the Denver Nuggets on the road. They're on a little bit of a road trip right now. Now they have to travel out to the East to play the Miami Heat in Miami, followed by, it's a back-to-back on the road, travel up to Atlanta, Georgia to play the Hawks. And then they'll be returning back home to play the Knicks next Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Then they have a few days break at Utah, at Portland. So these 2 games in the East, Miami I'm a little bit concerned about. Atlanta, I think they can handle that, although it is the second night of a back-to-back. New York, I think they can, they're at home, so I'm fairly confident that they could win this game even without Luka. It'll be tough, but I think there's a solid chance, especially, battle on the boards. Yes, Towns is good, but I think with the Mavs two bigs and PJ Washington out there, I'm pretty confident they can handle business on the boards. And then at Jazz, at Portland, obviously, we all thought they were going to win at Utah just a couple weeks ago. I think they got a chance at redemption, hopefully in the next week. So I'm just looking at this. I think there's a good potential the Mavs could win anywhere from 3 to 4 of the next 5 games, even though 4 of the 5 are on the road. I'm fairly confident that they can get it done. And then after that, Memphis will be a tough game, but that's at home. And then you got at Washington, at Toronto. You better win both of these games. I mean, there's no excuse not to win these games, even without some of your best players out. Clippers back-to-back at home. I could see this going 1-1. And then Portland should be an easy win. Minnesota could be tough. Suns could be tough. Portland should be an easy win. So right now, the next 3 weeks of the schedule, I'm feeling very confident the Mavs can work their way up the standings. If we look at the games that they have played so far and the opponents that they lost to, Suns, good opponent, and it was on the road, and only, they lost by 12. Rockets, good opponent right now. We didn't really know at the time they were going to start out as one of the best teams in the West, but they have, and they've been, tremendous. That loss was only by 6. Pacers, that was not a good. That was a bad game. Bad loss. Suns, lost to a good team by 1 point. Nuggets lost to a good team by 2 points. Warriors lost to a good team by 3 points. This was an inexcusable loss. And then look, you beat the Thunder without Luka. You beat the Nuggets last night. Earlier in the season, you beat the Timberwolves. You beat the Magic without Paolo. You beat the Spurs with Wemby when they had him. You beat this is preseason. That doesn't count. But to my point that I'm making here, they've had some tough competition to start the season. The losses that they have right now on the record, most of them are within only a few points. Within 6 points or less, you got even 7 points or less. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the 7 losses. And then if you wanted to go 3 points or less, you'd have 4 of the 7 losses. So I'm not too concerned. Mavs are still, have the opportunity to slide into the top 3 or 4 seeds in the West. I think over the next few weeks, we're going to see that happen. But let me know what you think about that in the comments down below. And let's go ahead now and get into our NBA game predictions for the day. Yesterday was a huge day for our predictions. We had 3 games that we predicted against the betting odds for FanDuel Sportsbook, and we ended up being correct. So we've worked our way back now. As you can see, like I was saying earlier, if we go ahead and unhide this column here, we are comparing our predictions to the FanDuel Sportsbook betting odds. Again, I'm not promoting encouraging FanDuel Sportsbook or that you use it. I'm not partnered or affiliated with any sports betting site. If you're going to do sports betting, do it responsibly. I'm just sharing my opinion for fun, and I think this is the best way to make the comparison against something and to keep score. So I don't think anyone else is doing anything like this, so that's why I'm doing it every day, rest of the season. And I'm considering making it its own separate content, maybe on shorts, maybe its own video, separate from kind of just talking about NBA news and whatnot. But you guys let me know. I like to end the videos like this sometimes, but I know that the viewer retention kind of drops off at this point. So perhaps we make it its own content later. That being said, yesterday I predicted the Bulls to win at home against the Hawks. Sports betting odds had the Hawks winning. I was correct. Nuggets and Mavs, I picked the Mavs. Of course, I picked the Mavs thinking Jokic wasn't going to play, but nonetheless, still correct. And then picked the Clippers at home against the Kings. They barely win that game. So looking pretty solid, and we've been keeping score over up here, and we were down 11 games to FanDuel. Now we're only down 8, so still plenty of time to catch up for the remainder of the season and possibly get ahead. So right now we've predicted 149 games correct, 88 wrong. And now let's get into today's games. So we have the Knicks at the Jazz. I would say Knicks on the road, definitely going to take them. Pistons at Magic. I'll take the Magic at home. They're pretty solid. Bulls and Grizzlies. I don't think the Bulls win back-to-back games, so I'm going to take the Grizzlies on this one. Trailblazers and Rockets. Definitely taking the Rockets at home again to win the back-to-back. Hornets and Bucks. Bucks have been on a bit of a tear recently and starting to work their way up the Eastern Conference standings. We will continue to pick the Bucks. Yes, they had a close game against the Hornets a week ago and with a controversial ending, but I will be taking the Bucks here. Warriors and Spurs. This one, I think I have to go Warriors. Obviously, being at home for the Spurs. I'm pretty sure Wemby's still out for the near-term future. So we'll take the Warriors. Nuggets and Lakers, I don't think the Nuggets are going to lose back-to-back. Yes, they have to travel to LA in one day after losing a heartbreaker to the Mavs. But I don't think the Nuggets lose this one either. Or I don't think they lose this one after yesterday. They had a great comeback in the second half, had a ton of momentum, just couldn't finish the job. I think the Nuggets can win this one against the Lakers. So that's going to be our picks. Let's go ahead and look at the odds here. The Knicks favored by 9.5. The Orlando Magic favored by 9.5. Memphis favored. Houston favored. Milwaukee favored. Golden State favored. And the Lakers are favored, so that's the one game we are going against the betting odds. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below and click one of the videos on your screen now for some more NBA discussion.